Hello, everyone. This is James Nussbaumer, and I'm so happy to be with you. First of all, before I get going, I'm getting so much response on Facebook from my videos and certain in my group at on Facebook, on my personal Facebook. Actually, by the way, with Facebook, I have a business page too, my fan page they call it, but I seem to enjoy my personal side better, where I have a maximum of 5,000 friends is all that you can have there. And I kind of like that a little better because, it depends on how you handle Facebook. I like to interact, and, my posts that I make, people actually message me back, and it's like, I kind of like that 5,000 maximum thing of, some people fall off, other people come in, and we got like a nitty group of 5,000 friends at my Facebook account. So if you want to be a friend, I always keep room for a couple open. So, hey, send me a friend request. But first of all, I'm responding to this, okay, from friends who asked me, they wanted to know. Everyone knows that I'm so deep into A Course in Miracles. And here is that ratty old version, and anybody that knows me, knows my story, knows where this came from, which is dear to my heart. But these people here that I'm going to name off, and I had to write their names down because it's just different parts of the world, but they've messaged me, and we've messaged back and forth, and so I agreed that I would make this video. But they wanted to know more about, faith, belief, and vision, which comes from A Course in Miracles. Faith, belief, and vision. Joe and Ellie from Colmar, France. And there's going to be a few I don't get on here too, because I can't say everybody's. Don't have the time to get everybody's name in there. But from Alberbello, Italy, Hugo and Gio, they wanted to know more about doubting yourself. And from Monsanto, Portugal, Pete and Ginger. Pete says his name is Pedro, but he'd rather go by Pete when he communicates with American people. So Pete and Ginger, I want to recognize you here. From a little town called, it's a real small town, and I apologize. It's in the Netherlands, and I apologize if I get this wrong. Gythorn, Netherlands. But this is from Gusto and Mary. They want to know more about, the undoing of what never was that A Course in Miracles talks about. And then from Legionnaire, Pennsylvania, Jane and Marcia wanted to know more about forgiveness. And from Stowe, Vermont, Jennifer and Scott. And then from Beaufort, South Carolina, there's Nancy and Scott. And I've known Nancy and Scott from way back, long years before that I've gotten into, even before Facebook come out. But it seems as though somehow we caught up with each other. They found me on Facebook, and they're friends. And then from Rhinebeck, New York, Ron and Deborah, they want to know more about the illusions of life and what we go. But basically, many people ask me, how in the heck did you ever get so deep into A Course in Miracles, Jim? And we get into, it's an unbelievable situation. So I'm going to try to explain it right here. I did this in another video, and it's still on YouTube somewhere. So if you come across it, it didn't come over too well because, but anyways, so I'm kind of got the same message, but I think that this is going to answer all the questions from these nice people from these areas around the world. And once again, please join me on Facebook. Just look up James Nussbaumer and join me. But, to answer everyone's questions, for those of you that know me, know that I spent a horrific 8 years in prison for a foolish securities violation. And that's where I wrote this first book, The Master of Everything. With no computer, I wrote this book by hand and sent my material outwards out of the prison system to someone who arranged the typing, and we got it edited and published by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, the master of everything, a story of mankind in the world of illusion we call life. It is on sale everywhere books are sold, and it's published by, like Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. Now the sequel to this book just came out, and I'm so proud of this. It's called Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, Lessons from A Course in Miracles. Both of these books, people are telling me, are page turners. Well, this one especially because people have read this. This one has not yet been read that much because it's due out August 1st. But I have received author copies from my publisher on this to give out to family and a couple of media people that I'm close to. And they've gotten back to me and said, Jim, it's a great sequel. It's a page turner. So I'm so proud of these two books. And there's a third one on the way called And Then I Knew My Abundance, which is due to be out November 1st. So we'll have the three of them. I don't know how. I don't have three hands. How am I going to hold all three of them? But for now, I'm so proud of these two companions. And here they are. They were written from prison. So how did I get into A Course in Miracles? Well, let me tell you, there is not a single doubt in my mind that it was divinely intended that my life's journey be greeted by that publication that is called A Course in Miracles. You know, the teachings of A Course in Miracles are of inner peace, and they have really and truly answered my lifelong questions to the mystery of all that exists while proving to me the truth about forgiveness. What really is forgiveness? A Course in Miracles asks us to hear this single question: who is the light of the real world except God's Son? Surely this is a question for us to really absorb and think about, but more so it's merely a statement of the truth about ourselves. For we are the light of the world. You are the light of the world, and the light emanates from your source, which is the creator of all that is real. This is the opposite of a statement of pride or arrogance or self-deception. It simply states the truth about who you are and who I am. When I wrote these two books here in longhand and into composition journals, later to get typed, when I wrote these books, I was in prison as I wrote those words by hand into the journals I was talking about, the old-fashioned kind of journals, you know, the black and white mottled covering on the front, and kind of like maybe something that a college student might use, or those cheap little composition journals that you can buy. But I look back to when I was first shoved hard, pushed into a 6-by-9-foot cell clothed in rags. As I stumbled to the floor, the overbearing guard growled at me, and he said, "Welcome to the state." I sat there on the floor in the corner of that cell, pretty much the same individual as I am today, talking to you right now. Even with a smile on my face now, as the guard pushed me into the cell, I tried to have that same smile, and he didn't like it. But anyways, however, today, though, I see that truth has moved to the front of my mind. I believe this change, both drastic and subtle, had much to do with my survival while I was in prison, since I'd been stripped of my world and my dignity. Dignity seems to be like something we need in order to survive as who we think we are. Don't you think? Well, at least we were taught this about dignity, weren't we? Weren't we taught this way? You know, as I wrote the words in these two books and the other volumes that were also written from prison that aren't released in book form yet, but as I pursued my writing, I had nothing in this world other than who I am. You know, and I often wonder, does this mean that I have my dignity after all? I mean, I would wonder that while I was in prison, stripped of everything. Do I really have any dignity left? I was worried about that, really concerned over that. Well, I describe in detail in this book, The Master of Everything, a story of mankind in the world of illusion that we call life. I urge you to get a copy of this book if you don't already have one. But I describe in this book some of my experiences of prison life. But many of them I'll never mention to anyone, only because they really don't matter anyway. I will describe what I have experienced as an undoing of old patterns of thinking, which has been a transformation initiated and then guided by a part of me that eternally lives on. The process necessarily required this stripping away in order to bring on new patterns, which are truly of who I am. I began an inward journey that tells me it will continue because it's taking me where I must go. It's a journey about not only who I am, but also what I am. I can tell you it is peaceful. It's very blissful and exciting where I'm going with my writing and my studying of A Course in Miracles. I can tell you the same process is available to you regardless of your circumstances. I remember sitting there in that stinking prison cell when I first got to prison, moving quickly to the depths of my mind without realizing how deep I was really going. The experience was definitely more than just what I'd been cautioned it might be. Many would say I was in shock. I heard one guard telling another guard that I must be in shock when I wouldn't answer any of their questions. I guess that was the rebel in me coming through. Something was directing me, though, to go deeper, to go deep into myself, where a feeling or sensation welcomed me. I almost felt like a child again. But of course, now keep in mind, I hadn't discovered A Course in Miracles yet. So I don't want you to think that I was already a student of A Course in Miracles at this point in time, because I wasn't. That will come up in later chapters and later videos. But this is not about how at this point that I'm talking about, I didn't know what A Course in Miracles was about. But I almost felt like a child again. It was that feeling of being cradled and told that everything was going to be okay. I also know that I had no choice but to accept the embrace. I realized in the weeks and the months ahead inside these block walls and behind these steel bars that what had embraced me was my own true strength. It was as if I were being waved on inside of me to join in, but I still had to go deeper where something was waiting to greet me. The sensation was mysterious and encouraging, big time encouraging, as though whatever was waiting had been hidden away for all those years of my life. Physically, I was very weak. I mean to tell you, I was weak. I can feel that weakness now as I try to tell you how weak I was. So physically weak, in this inner place that had been obscured for so long was really my long lost home. So I was so weak, but I was feeling like I was being rescued from something that was in me that was home. Much of the world lives by a thought system that teaches us that our body should be regarded as our temple. You know, this is true, however, and it applies only to the surface level of who we express ourselves to be, where gaining and winning are so very important. But for the most part, honoring the body is only a minor step in answering that one question much of the world struggles with. And that question is, who really am I? Our temple is not a structure at all, says A Course in Miracles, such as a building or our body. Every temple has its altar where holiness abides. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a temple at all. But rather than viewing our body as the temple, let's consider the structure of our temple as our true essence, or our being, our inner state, our true deep inner state, that part of us that we're afraid so often to claim, our inner being. Let's consider the structure of our temple as that inner deep you, who you are. Deep within that structure of life is where our altar sits, and it is at this altar where we see our life's purpose. This is what emanates the light, or is the true essence of who you are. Your true essence is the light from your source. This is your being, if you will. Your being, if you will. You know, like I'd said, I had wrote this book entirely in longhand. Both these books, entirely in longhand, from behind bars in an overcrowded, an overbearing, and obnoxiously overloud prison environment where inmates live in one another's faces all day and all night long. The atmosphere is violent and volatile. Often I believe this is what brought these words from my mind through the pen and onto the paper. I would sit there and wait to be released by a judge who says he used me as an example. The waiting was extremely difficult, but I knew that it was only temporary. This project of writing these books, which is only the beginning of an ever-developing series, this project of my writing has saved me in more ways than you could imagine, in more ways. And it grew while I was in there during that 8 years. It grew as I did as well. I wrote every single day solely by myself, but with helpful suggestions from a oneness which we are all a part of. The oneness I call God. You can call it whatever you want. It's only, G-O-D is only letters in the alphabet, but it's whatever you want to call it. I just call it God because that's what I'm used to. That's what most of the world is used to, and it's just easier that way. Writing these books, these 2 books right here, with more on the way, like I've told you, by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. Writing these books has kept me busy every day while I was in prison. And at times, I would lose sleep at night, anxiously waiting to pick up where I left off the day before. The writing had consumed me like you would not believe. It was just a blissful state. Each day I received as a gift of words that I could not seem to find the previous day. I would often wake up in the middle of the night while in the prison cell and think, that's it. A sentence that was needed to complete a paragraph or a metaphor to help explain an idea, something to assist in an area I had seemed to be stuck in the day before would appear in my mind, and I would be so anxious to get up in the morning and start writing again. And today, it's just 2 beautiful books that I have right here in my hands. But I must say that when the final chapter was nearing its completion, a blissful feeling continued to flow through me. I knew I was going to miss this project. I was sad too, because I could not get my words to mature to beyond the handwritten stage due to the rule in prison stating that there's no computer usage whatsoever in that backwoods prison system where I was kept. My only other resource was not really a resource at all, but was available if I wished to stand in line to use the ancient, poor quality prison typewriter. But that wouldn't do because I needed to write all day long and I couldn't occupy their typewriter all day long. Need I say, that typewriter, even if I could, was not nearly up to a publisher's standards. This was a feeling like not being able to send your cherished kid off to college, the kid who desperately desired to change the world. But regardless, my words did mature into book form. Here they are. I'm so proud of this. Into book form. Yes, they matured into book form. But before this came about, this is what you see now. This is what you see now. But while I was there in prison, the book form I'm talking about was a pile, a growing pile of journals. This would be fine for the time being. It was my equivalent of computer entry. I would tell myself, or a voice I would hear telling me to tell myself, a thought, really more than a voice. When I say a voice, I just mean a pure thought. A pure thought would come to me like a voice saying, help will be on its way in due time. That was the voice inside me, the thought that continued to assure me. As the journals of these two books sat in the bottom of my footlocker, that same thought, or voice, if you will, encouraged me to keep on writing. This book right here, especially this first book, The Master of Everything, A Story of Mankind in the World of Illusion We Call Life. This book right here surely is a child to me. And in many respects, it has been like the experience of watching my daughters grow to adulthood. I remember asking them in a joking and affectionate manner on their birthdays when they were little to promise me not to grow any older. I would say, happy birthday, but promise me you're not going to get any older. I would say that to them, that I wish they could remain cute little girls forever. But inevitably, they did grow up. And guess what? Just like my little girls, this book is ready for its next phase. I would tell myself back then, and guess what happened? It came to the next phase, publishing. It was born, and its companion came after that. But you know, back then when I was in there and I was visualizing this all coming to be, I mean, I just could imagine what this book might look like once it's published. Just like my little girls, that book certainly did grow to its next phase. And you know, I'd say to myself, sooner or later, the words will be in the hands of people around the world everywhere. The same people who I wrote on this list right here, who I acknowledged earlier, that messaged me from Facebook wanting to know about this message that I'm giving you now. So the words now are in the world's hands of these books. The problem is not too many people around the world know who I am yet. James Nussbaumer, the master of everything. This is the pilot of the ever-developing series. The companion is Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom. On sale everywhere books are sold, and you can easily go to Amazon and find both of them. But they're in your hands now if you want them to be, and hopefully helping those who are lost or confused in their own way, as I once was. Or perhaps it's for those who are searching but not certain for what it is they actually want to discover. And they will find their true free will, as I have, once they decide to let go of the past and forgive it and move forward with what it is you really want to do in life. Of course, by the time that maybe you actually buy this book, one of these books, I may just be in your area. You never know. But my task of writing these books has been completed. But from where I stand now, I'm wondering how I will meet more people like the people that have responded to me on Facebook that I'm giving this message for now because of them. I'm wondering how I can get my books out there to reach everyone right now in this world. There's many individuals whom I have not yet met who I know are on their way to arrive onto the scene to help me move this process along of marketing these books. But I see this as a natural progression, just as the many other adults who arrived to play a role in the maturing of my daughters. These two books are just little babies right now. They're growing. They are growing up right now. They are growing. It is as more people pick up a copy, they will be turning more towards adulthood, where the other writings can come through and follow. I can honestly and openly tell you that I have been advised by the one who knows that I should just relax while I proceed with the suggested promotion of this book. I've been advised also to trust that the right people will show up at the right times to assist me with the various procedures. Events are being arranged right now at this very moment while I continue with my work. And as I'm talking to you right now, events are being arranged. In fact, events are being arranged right now that will give you a reason to seek out this book. This video alone may not be enough. Something else may come around to make you feel that it's necessary that this book land in your hand, or may be that it comes across you or you come across it, or maybe somebody just decides to give it to you as a gift. Who knows? I have already been instructed to turn over everything to my teacher and my guide. He guarantees that this project will arrive in time around the world, everywhere, in all the nooks and crannies around the world, where people will begin reading these two books. I've already been advised that this will happen. All I have to do is listen and be calm and just have a vision and listen and learn. By the time you are reading either one of these two books, I will have already been traveling, which I'm starting to do now extensively, throughout the country and the world. And who knows where else I may land. It is important that I talk to individuals everywhere about what I have learned and witnessed along my own spiritual journey. For those who are already ready, and for those who can glimpse readiness, if you can remember that forgiveness is the key to unlocking the door to your own inner depths, then you will live a life that encompasses your own true free will. You will know then that that is where your true home is. God bless you. and I hope you will find out more about me through these two books. Thank you again, and God bless.